Hey there, everyone. How you doing? Lee Stranahan, nice to see you. I'm just checking to make sure I have audio here. I wasn't trying to avoid eye contact. How you doing? Nice to see you. Hope you're having a good weekend. I've had a good weekend, although it is, as I pointed out, this war is very weird. And part of the reason it's weird is because of all of the false information. And I want to take you through. I am one of the leading journalists on this Ukraine story and have been for years because I've been covering it since I saw Ukrainians and Ukrainian and NATO-related stuff showing up in the Russiagate story a few years ago when I was a White House reporter. And so I want to talk about an important skill, which is how to think logically about claims. I'll try to keep this brief, but I'll just mention to people, do me a favor, if you don't subscribe to me on YouTube, do that, ring that bell so you know when I'm doing new videos, and follow me on Twitter. And there we go. I'm also the founder of Citizen Journalism School. You can check that out. And I teach people how to do. And when I say logical thinking, let me talk about what's going on first off. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Russian Ministry of Defense, the equivalent of the State Department and the Pentagon for the U.S., released documents that they say show bioweapons labs funded by the U.S. in Ukraine. And I want to point out that the fact that documents are out and that two official government branches of Russia, not just journalists, not just bloggers, not even just, state-funded media sources, like, let's say RT had come up with a story. That's not as significant as the government itself coming out with the story, because they're putting their stamp of approval on it. And the fact that documents are out is very significant, and here's why. I'm not saying it makes it true. I'm saying it makes it a much bigger story either way. Because if it's true and the documents are legitimate, well, that's one thing. It's a news story. Obviously, if the United States, and I would link to it on my Twitter feed. If you haven't watched George Galloway's great commentary on this tonight, it's worth watching because George is a great speaker and I love George. But the claim itself is beyond just Russia accusing. When they show documents and they say, no, these documents prove the case, that's a big deal. And here's why. A mere claim, the U.S. is doing that without any proof, has very little evidentiary value. But when you start to add documents, the evidentiary value, you're showing something to back up your claim. Now, that doesn't mean that, okay, let's go over some possibilities. Number one, the documents are legitimate. Number two, if that's news. Number two, the documents are illegitimate. They're fake. They're fabrications. That's still significant because the government put them out and said they were legitimate. Number three, maybe they're legitimate, but they're misinterpreting them. So in other words, the documents are true, but they don't really mean what they're implying it means. That's also significant, although not as significant as if they faked it. Now, here's the thing about documents, why they're so important. Because documents give everybody something that they can look at and investigate further. A mere claim, there's not much you can do with that. An accusation, the U.S. is doing this. Where's your proof? I don't have any right now. There's not much you can do with that. You either trust the person or don't. In this case, with documents, and I'm going to give an example. Remember the Hunter Biden laptop story? I'm going to go down one aspect of that. So they said they had documents from Hunter Biden's laptop. And the U.S. said, nope, that's not true. In fact, U.S. intelligence agencies came out and said, no, this is Russian disinformation. But here's the thing about documents. You can run them down. So in the case of the documents, this is like all the WikiLeaks stuff, this is true about too. What you can do is you can read the document and you start to look at it and examine the specifics. And then if you get an email, if WikiLeaks releases an email, you can contact people who are CC'd or directed on the email and say, hey, WikiLeaks said, in the case of Ali Chalupa, WikiLeaks put out, she was the Democratic operative who was bragging that she'd talked to journalists from Ukraine trying to dig up dirt on Trump, something that was illegal, by the way. But when WikiLeaks released it, well, how do we know WikiLeaks is telling the truth? The first thing to do is to go to Ali Chalupa and say, hey, is it true that you sent this email to Luis Miranda? If she says, yes, I sent it, then we know it's not a hoax at that point, unless she's in on the hoax with WikiLeaks, which is a whole nother slippery slope of craziness. You'd have to have some reason to believe that. But all things being equal, with the Tony Bobulinski emails, those were the emails where Hunter Biden said, I want a certain amount of money for the big guy. So what they did was somebody who knows what the hell they're doing. I'll put it like this. If you're dishonest, and I see a lot of dishonest people on Twitter, they see Russia put out documents like this about the bioweapons lab, and they say, well, Russia are liars. That's lazy dishonesty. Because maybe Russia are liars, but how do you explain this fucking document? Are you saying that the document's fake? No, they don't even look at it. The people who do that kind of laziness just go, no, Russia's bullshit. No, they're murdering liars. Well, okay, but there's things in the document. In this case, in the case of these documents, the first problem I've got is I know speak Ukrainian. I don't know why I did a stereotypical Italian, like Marx Brothers level, Chico level Italian accent there. Forgive me, I have no idea. But if we look at it, they did Google Translate translations, which are not ideal, but okay. And one of the things we see on the documents, I don't see it here, I'm not looking at it right now. It's hard for me to look and talk at the same time. But there are names of people and signatures. And there's also names of facilities. Now, those things can be run down. In the case of the emails about the big guy getting money, there was a guy listed on there named Tony Bobulinski. And someone who's not lazy contacted Tony. And he said, yeah, these emails, Hunter Biden emails, are legitimate. Yes. And then Tony Bobulinski was willing to go on record. And he did that, and the media still ignored it, which is why they're a bunch of lazy, lying bastards. But in this case, what someone should do is contact the people who are on the document. There are people whose signatures are there. And the first question I would ask them if I were talking to them, but I won't be because they're Ukrainian and I don't speak Ukrainian. The first thing I'd say is, what are these documents? I'd let them try to explain it. Explain what these documents are. Because Russia's claiming they show proof of a bioweapons lab. Is that true? Then see what that person says. Then go to the next person on the list. Do you know what this document is? If they say yes, okay, so what is it? Russia's claiming it shows a bioweapons lab. And if they say, no, it's a party invitation, and we were all joking or whatever, I don't know what they would say. But you take whatever they say, and it doesn't mean it's true, but it does mean it's what they said. I'm seeing people dismiss or accept these documents before they have the slightest fucking idea what they are. They have no idea. They haven't even tried to translate them. I guarantee you, most of the dumb mother hubbards who are up there commenting on this, mostly Russia haters, they don't speak Ukrainian, so they don't know what the documents are. But what I'm saying is the existence of the documents themselves. If Russia's lying about this, if it turns out they contact these people and they go, no, I have no idea what this is. I didn't sign anything like this. It's a fake. Then that's real problems for Russia, because then their State Department and military, the equivalent of the Pentagon, put out fake documents. And that's a big deal. And I'm saying this as someone who's pro-Russia in this conflict. That would be a big deal. And, of course, I wouldn't go, well, it's okay that they put out fake documents. No, it's not. It would be bad if they put out fake documents. But the first thing to do, think logically, is to go through the documents. Now, here's what you can do. You sitting there watching this right now. There are also the names of facilities listed, universities, places like that. You could cut and paste and use Google Maps or whatever. Google Earth might be better, but I don't want to get nerdy on you. Look up whether those are real. If they list a university, the university, what's the matter you, if we're going to do Marx Brothers level comedy. If you see what's the matter you listed on there and you look it up and you find out there's no such place, that tells you something. So here's the thing. Again, the thing about documents is they have material that can be run down. So, for instance, let's say you looked into the people whose names are listed there and you see one of them died in a skiing accident a year ago. What you know is a year before they supposedly signed it. Well, that's a real problem, right? So this is the thing about paper, and this is why I think Russia releasing it is so significant. If it's false, they've released false documents, and they need to be held accountable for that. And if it's true, then the U.S. is going to be able to need to be held accountable for it. And if you want to watch a great commentary on that, go watch what George is talking about. Anyway, hopefully this helps you see, don't fall into the trap of not thinking logically about this stuff. Some dummy on Twitter said, when I said it's a big story either way, that I was equivocating. No, that's not equivocating. You're a person who uses big words and you don't know what they mean. I'm saying it's a big story if Russia lied. A country should not lie about bioweapons like the U.S. did. Remember that? Remember Colin Powell and holding his little thing? That sounds dirty if I say it that way, but so ignore that. But my point is, the U.S. lying about bioweapons was significant. If Russia is making a false accusation, if they pulled a Colin Powell here with documents rather than holding up their little things, I'll let you ponder that one, then Russia should be held accountable the same way the U.S. should have been held accountable and was held up to ridicule. People still talk about it. Galloway still talks about it. So that's a big story. But if it's true, it's a big story too. And we need to get to the bottom of this as quick as possible. And we'll start to do that a little bit on my radio show, The Backstory, which is Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Radio Sputnik. Don't miss it. It's the best damn talk show in the world. We have great guests, great conversation. And it's not all about the war. Sometimes we drift into 70s music or stuff like that. Because I'll be honest, if it's all about the war right now, you're just going to self-isolate, and no one wants that. Anyway, love you guys. Hey, do me a favor, share this video. And in the link on YouTube, I've got a donation link. If you like the work, do me a favor, any amount appreciated. And we got more stuff coming for you very soon. Anyway, love you guys. Bye for now.